guys seen One Piece film Gold?
Yes.
Yeah.
You like our boy Vic as Sabo?
Yay, Sabo!
Yeah! Dude, I love that. I love that.
I'm so excited. You know, I sang like 3 of the One Piece opening theme songs, and I played like 2 or 3 episodic characters, but they always, you know, they're just there and then they're gone in an episode or 2. So when Joel asked me if I would be interested in being a part of something, yes. Who should I write this check out to?
Well,
I will pay it.
It was only like 6 or 7 cues for the whole movie, but he comes back in a couple hundred episodes. And it'd be amazing.
I'll be playing Sabo at 94 years old. It's me, Luffy. Sabo!
We'll still be watching.
You're not Sabo! Yes, I am!
So, we had a tour group come through
Imagine
Filmation the other day, and
emotional.
they, somebody who'd never seen One Piece before, we were reviewing a One Piece episode, and so they sat and they watched for us, with us for a little bit, and they were like, it was all Colleen, and this 16-year-old kid kind of leans forward and he taps me on the shoulder, and then turned around and was like, yeah? He's like, is that a boy or a girl? I was like, the character's a boy, but it's voiced by a girl, and he goes, what's wrong with her body that it sounds like that? I told Colleen she thought that was the best compliment ever. She loved it.
If somebody, if he'd have come to me and said, is that a boy or a girl? I go, exactly. That's exactly what we were going for.
Right.
Thank you. Give it up for these guys.
If you guys have a fun time this weekend, if you come every year and you always have a good time, find a staffer and aggressively hug them.
Yes.
Like, surprise
Ask
them.
permission.
They love that. Like, no, they make this thing awesome. So
These are the unsung heroes behind the scenes of this show.
Go
So
sing them.
maybe we should sing to them. What's your name?
Well, yeah.
What's your name? Amber? Andrew? Just like me, they long to be close to you. And now you're a sung hero. Thank you, Andrew. Give it up for Andrew! Oh, that feels good.
Morning.
Okay. All right. We got caffeine.
Sort
We can
of.
start.
Yeah.
I thought we had already started. I was just going to let you guys roll with
We're
it.
just about finished.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, we have on the stage right side of the stage a masterful voice actor, music producer, Vic Mignogna.
And director.
Thank you, Ian.
He's directing an awesome show called Junie Tyson and is
Oh
doing
my
a great
gosh,
job.
you guys check out, pull it, write this name down. Junie Tyson. It's a brand new show. It's a simuldub on Funimation.com. We're approaching episode 4, will be released next week. And these guys are both in it, and they kick major butt. So check it out. It's a great show, and I'm directing the show, and I'm very excited.
It was the first time I got to be, and we've never had the chance to be directed by Vic.
Yeah.
It's
It's great.
I love working with other actors because we all speak the same actor language. It's like you were able to very quickly be like, oh, I like that. Do this other thing. Like, oh, I like that too. And like we get to play with each other. It was really fun.
Yeah, and you guys, I've always felt like the best directors are actors. Don't tell any of the directors that are not actors that I said that. I do like to work, but I love working with good people. And I'll tell you what, you know what a director's best director job, most important job is to cast good people.
Yeah.
If you as a director cast people that you know are going to bring their best, they're going to give you everything they've got, then your job is 80% done.
Yeah.
You can literally sit back and go, okay, Ian, be Ian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just do your Joel thing, Joel,
Yeah.
and it's going to be amazing. You know what I mean? You don't have to like sweat and try to pull something out of them because you know they're gonna be great for you. So.
Well,
And that's hard. That's one of the hardest parts of it too. I hate casting. I hate casting.
I'm not a huge fan either, but that's why, and actually it works out for all of us on Space Dandy, because we all got to play extreme versions of ourselves.
Wait a minute!
So gentle and sweet.
The most charming guy in
So
that show.
womanizing.
Yeah, baby.
Pervert cat.
You know, I always tell the story about you, and I remember that it's you now that I told the story about. So in my panels before, when I've talked about Space Dandy, I have said, the director called me one day and said, I have a role for you, it's Tamaki from Oran High School Host Club. And I said, oh, so it's like Tamaki. And he said, no, it's not like Tamaki. It is Tamaki.
Well, and I remember too, because I also asked you, I was like, I don't know where on the planet you are right now, and you were not at home, you were abroad or elsewhere, you were traveling. I was like, I know it's a tight turnaround, but we have to start recording this on Monday, and I know it's Friday night, but is there any way you could be at Funimation on Monday morning? And you literally, what you said, I was like, oh, thank God. But, Joel, I'm wherever you meet me. I was like, yes, I have a flawless cast. Everybody was so good. Oh my God, I love that shit. I miss it. All right, let's talk about that.
Dandy panel. Damn.
Where's your jacket, Ian?
You guys want to take some questions?
Have you found it chilly outside? You got your awesome Wolverine jacket.
His jacket and my jacket look like twinsies.
They kind of, but you're not jacketing right now.
Because our jackets
You're
look like
lumberjacking.
twinsies.
You're lumberjacking right now.
I had to pick this outfit, I kid you not, to A, not look like I'm wearing the same jacket as Joel, and then Todd Habercorn and I had to text each other what we were wearing today because it was the same thing.
You're
So-
kidding. Is that really true? That's not true. Is that true? You look really good though.
Appreciate that.
I like it. That's
I like your
Thanks for texting.
Not many people can pull off skinny jeans and a poet shirt, but Todd it can't either.
Excellent.
Nobody's recording this.
I love it when y'all come up. I love it when y'all come up to us in our autograph lines and be like, "You want to know what Todd said about you in his panel?" And you're like, "Please." And then you tell them, they're like, "Oh, because I love you." And you're like, "Uh-huh." Talk about Joel now.
And in the middle,
That was all Vic's intro.
It had nothing to do with me.
Why don't you be a director? You're a great director.
Wait a minute, we started introducing me and then we're talking about Todd!
And ladies and gentlemen, far to stage left, it's Todd Habercorn in the empty seat. Oh, can I get up there and play Todd?
I'm not giving that permission. That was so awkward. It's just I'm real loud into it, ain't it? Yeah. It's all right.
I would love to welcome you all to our new panel, Everybody Talking About Todd Habercorn. In the middle, we have also a masterful actor and director. You know him from
Anime!
One Piece.
One Piece.
That's right. One Piece. Did you do
A
Dragon
million
Ball
things.
right?
No, I wrote a few episodes of Dragon Ball Kai. But yeah, I've been at Funimation 10.5 years, almost 11, and directing, writing, acting, that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Joel McDonald.
Yeah. It's you.
That's you. There.
And
I like it when it's you.
Who are you?
One of your older friends. We've been friends. He's one of my oldest, like, continuous friends from, like, I guess it'd be like 13,
Something like that.
12 some years ago. Yeah.
Ian was my first, because there are a few years separating the two of us. He was the first person I ever had to put my hand on his shoulder and tell him when I was your age.
Yeah.
It was weird.
I remember that. You went, oh.
Yeah, and there was actually so we met at auditions for a play that we did with Rob McCollum
Yep.
and a bunch of other actors in town, and we saw each other in the lobby. I ended up texting my friend Tasha. She was like, hey, come out for drinks or something. I was like, I can't. I got this audition. She's like, my friend Ian is at that audition. I want you to be best friends. Go talk to him right now. So of course I avoided him the entire time because that's weird. No one makes play dates for me.
No.
But we both got cast. We ended up having a great time. Got to know each other really well. But then on opening night, I think Ian's parents come to see the show.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And the first thing his mom said to me was, "Thank you so much for putting up with my son. I know he's a handful." And so we actually worked that line into Space Dandy too. When Dandy meets Meow's parents, it's totally in there. That's based on real life.
Yeah. Well, I'll never forget being in that lobby and you going, getting a text going, Joel? And you going, yeah. Ian. We should hang tonight.
Yeah, and we did. Actually, yeah, so we had auditions that night, and then we went back to my place,
Yep.
and everybody's drinking, having a great time, and then we got the call, like, he got the call that he was cast, I got the call that I was cast, we just started getting really excited about it, and yeah, we've been hanging out ever since.
It's Tasha Williams, who does a lot of anime.
Yeah.
She hooked us up.
She plays my mom in Monster.
Does she now?
And Richard did until she died. Everybody dies in anime.
Boy.
Not in One Piece, though. Nobody dies in One Piece. Well, few notable exceptions, but I mean, people, almost on an episodic basis, people get shot in the face and they cough a couple times.
It's true.
No one dies in fairy tale.
Oh, and me.
Right.
And on the far stage left, we have another masterful actor and director. You know him best from his roles on Space Dandy and Dragon Ball Z. It's Ian Sinclair!
We have 17 minutes to introduce ourselves.
We are obviously freeforming this panel.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hands. I will come by. I will approve your question.
Yeah, I like him.
Good.
And then we can go ahead and ask. I would like to start this off with an easy question. What do the three of you like about working with each other specifically? Like, Ian, what is your favorite thing about Joel?
When I work for Joel, my job, and because the majority by now, it would be One Piece. I just think by volume it has been One Piece. Is that my job when I'm working for Joel is to make one of my best friends laugh. That's it. That is my entire job, because I know if I can make him laugh, I'll probably be making y'all laugh, and then he gives us really good energy back, so it's really fun, and he lets me try some really stupid stuff, and then we'll be like, that was great. No, but like,
I hate it when you do stuff that is so funny, but so I can't use it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like there will be times where, like, just recently, and I didn't end up using this. I'm gonna let you know. We were all thought it was really funny, but there was a line where Brooke like sees another guy.
Oh, yep, I know what you mean.
Another guy who, like, I don't know if he had an afro or something like that, but he sees this other guy that he identifies with. Another skeleton character. Yeah, and he sees him and he says something. And he's like, oh my gosh, you don't have any skin either, my brother. That's the one that we used. But the one we didn't use was, oh, he doesn't have any skin either, my brother! No. It was really funny, but it is wrong.
so y'all know, sometimes stuff just comes out, and then you go, no. And you look at it, and you're like, oh, maybe. Oh, no. So that's my answer.
Say something nice about Vic.
Oh my God, I love working with you. No.
It's gonna be a very short panel.
No. One of the things I really like working with Vic as a director is kind of like you're saying, he, and I have told you this and to your face as you were directing me, so I feel comfortable repeating it. He is such a good actor that if he wants to guide me in a way, I know I'm being taken care of. Because if it's somebody who has never acted or something like that, and they're like, hey, why don't you read it like this? You're like, okay, sure.
Because that's a stupid way.
That's, I mean, whatever, guy. But Vic does it, and you're like, that's probably the best read, I'm gonna do that. And then you listen to it later and go, oh yeah. And you keep me from some of my bad actor habits, and I appreciate that. And like, I was like, blah, 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 blah. And then I watched the episode the other day, and I'm like, yep, I get every direction he gave me, and yeah, that's exactly how this character needs to be.
It's so good to have a director you trust, because you only know what you see, and the director knows this overarching whole thing and how it's all going to fit together. So you have to trust them. And like, you're like, oh, but I want to get big and loud here. Like, no, you can't. You steal the climax from somebody else. That can't happen here.
You are a stitch in a tapestry, and that's what the director gets to stand back and look at. So yeah, hell yeah, man, I love working with you. We got a lot more episodes.
Very kind.
It's
Thank
gonna be
you.
great. I can't wait till we have big media episodes with him. That's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, your character is big things gonna happen to you.
Relax.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll say something nice about Ian and Joel.
Okay.
When I first met Ian, he was so kind. He was very complimentary of the work. I mean, I'm one of the older ones around, so I had been there for a few years already. And when I first met him, he was very complimentary of stuff that I'd worked on that he had seen, and that always stuck with me. You know, there are two kind of people in the world. There are the people that are complimentary And even if you're doing something really good, maybe even at a higher level, they're complimentary of that. They're genuinely kind. But then sometimes there are people that don't like the fact that you did something really good. Especially, and actors have egos. I mean, we can all agree with that, right? People that are performers tend to have egos. And so you struggle with, I want to do that, or I wish I had that chance. And you know, sometimes, you know, you struggle with even, what's the word, celebrating that someone else got a role, or that somebody else did a really kick-butt job and is getting all of this attention. So you have to struggle with that crummy, crappy part of your character that makes you want to be like me, you know, your ego, your pride. So to have a great actor like Ian say, you know what, I just really love the work you did in such and such, and it's really a pleasure to meet you. I was like, man, that is really very, very kind.
It's all
And
true.
more people in the world need to be that way. And I feel the same way about Joel. And Joel is a great director. I was so honored that he called me. We worked on a handful of things. Level E, you guys? Go home and watch Level E. He called me one day and he said, I've got this show and I'd like you to play this character and you can do anything you want. Now, Ian will tell you, actors don't get that direction. You don't get that direction. That's like, wait a minute, what do you mean by whatever I want? And Joel's like, he's this alien from outer space. He's enamored with pop culture, and anything you want to do, you can do. And I didn't really believe him at first. And we got into the first recording session, and Joel goes, got to this first line, and I wanted to do the line like the Emperor from Star Wars or something. And I said, can I do this like the Emperor? And he goes, sure. And then it was, you know, and then it was Yoda, and then it was a little Japanese girl, and then it was William Shatner, and then it was singing a line, and then it was, I mean, all over the place. And you don't meet many directors like that. And he's as talented as an actor as he is a director. So
well, it's like you guys both said, like, you know, cast well and get out of the way. Like that's one thing that I don't. Casting's hard, but once you get that cast where you just, what are you going to tell them? Like, just do what you have been doing for years without me. You're amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You treat us like actors.
There have been at least 3 or 4 times in Ginny Tyson where I bring in somebody like you or Caitlin or Stephanie, you know, or Jerry Jewell, and they do a line, and I would look at Ricky, I'd look at my director and my engineer and be like, you want to go get a burger? Yeah. We could just leave them here, put it in record, and walk away, because the actors are so amazing. They just deliver.
My favorite thing about working with both of you guys, and I'll give it short because it applies to both, is you can't. I've never seen you guys go anything less than 100% in the booth. Like, even when we're previewing and everything, you guys are laser focused, and both of you are thinking actors, and that's you always want an actor who's thinking. Like, and especially, and both of you guys have done this a lot too. Is we'll be 4 or 5 cues past, and you're like, I'm still thinking about Q91. Yep. Can we go back? I have an idea. I want to try something. I don't know if it's going to work, and I will always say yes, because if you guys are thinking about it, I might be able to add a little bit more. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm always going to give everybody a shot. And I love that you guys are not just watching the clock, like, man, I want to get out of here. Like, you know, it's not just a job. Like, this is something. It's art, you know, and it is. And you are already thinking ahead of the final product and how you guys are going to see it. And yeah, you can't pay for that kind of dedication. It's awesome.
Well, it's because you give us that freedom. So to do Brooke, I have about a 6-ounce cup of extra strong espresso. And then I sit in the corner and yo-ho-ho until I can get, like, the pitch right. He says it looks like I'm having a mental breakdown.
Yeah, it really does.
And I just lose it, and then he'll give me direction and go, oh, yeah. And because we're able to have that, and you're able to let me do that, I can be as weird as my brain can come up with, and that's why I can do these kind of things.
And for a while, both in Space Dandy and in One Piece, every time Brooke especially had a laugh, you'd be like, "Could you please, in my pre-roll as the beeps are happening, can you just say something funny to make me laugh?" Because it's hard to laugh on cue. And so, like, for the longest time, all through One Piece, like, as his beeps are happening, right before his cue begins, I'll just lean in and go, "Titty sprinkles."
That's all it takes.
And you get a great laugh out of that. It's fun.
I haven't heard that. I don't know why. There are children here. Anyway, hi.
That was question one.
That was question one.
Audience question.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
And what is your name?
Hannah,
Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
my question is, what was it like working on Attack on Titan? And if you have a favorite character on there, who was it and why?
I'll start. My favorite character is Mileus. He's the one I played. He had 3 Qs and he died. No, that's not true. I like the tree in the first episode.
That was me. I played the tree. I got 2 cues and I got cut down.
It was really fun to work on, but it was the briefest thing in the world. Like, I was like, "Oh, I've got a name. That's awesome. Cool. That usually means I'll be around for a few episodes."
Right.
And like, I literally went, "You got it, Captain." That was it.
I think I was supposed to be random guy stabbed, but I was sick. And so he was like, "Actually, I got a better part for you." So I got Nile Doc and, Nile. You know Nile. My favorite's Matt Mercer, because I love Matt Mercer. He's a good friend of mine, and I like Matt Mercer, and he's amazing. That's a cheap answer, but I love Matt, so Matt. How can you not like Mercer?
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
He's a good guy.
I just like him. I like my character. I played a character named Eld Jin. He was part of a group, and I thought, he's got a name, right? And he's got like, it's like 15, 16, 20 keys. Like, bit in half. And I'm like, no, probably not. It's the Darth Maul syndrome, you know? It's like, I'm going to make sure you know he's not coming back, so. What?
Darth Maul's technically back.
No, he's not. He's not, sadly.
Does Joel have an answer?
I did.
Himself.
Where are you?
I'm ready.
Yeah, no, I did. I'm my favorite thing in everything.
Yes.
All right, on to our next question then.
Hi, my name's Mandy. I have a
Hi, Mandy.
Everyone knows about how much roles you get and all the glamour and all that. But how much rejection do you have to deal with? I mean, I heard Steve Bloom said once he did 30 auditions for every one role he got.
Yeah,
he's getting one for every 30? That's because he's that awesome.
That's good odds, yeah.
That's awesome odds.
David Vincent said something once at a convention that I thought was the most brilliant thing I'd ever heard. He said, "The only reason I'm up here instead of you is I've failed more." And I love that because I can only think of one person ever who's like nailed their first audition and like, you know, just one. Just one. But you know, we all have auditioned way more than we've actually booked. And glamour is such a weird word.
Yeah. That's actually part of the rejection. It becomes just a part of the job. It is a job of you submitting and then getting rejected until you get those few and you go, yeah. The thing that keeps you grounded is there is no glamour, and this is us done up because we're on a panel. Right. It is the greatest job, and I love it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But like, no, I'm some dude who makes funny voices, and 99% of the people who bump into me are like, okay. And
you mentioned actor egos before, which is totally a thing. But like the reason that I fully understand it and I get it is it's such a cutthroat industry. You will be rejected so often. Yeah. You have to know you're good. Yeah. Like you have to know that it's gonna happen for me one of these days. And so that you might get a little overzealous with it sometimes. That's.
You know what, you guys, I was thinking about this. This is really interesting to me. I feel like a lot of people get into acting when they're young.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes because they're insecure and they want to be someone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I did.
Like they don't like themselves a great deal, or they feel like they're kind of insignificant. But this is a chance to play another character and you know, and be on stage and create a role and make people laugh or cry or whatever. Isn't it interesting that people who are by nature struggle with maybe insecurity would voluntarily put themselves in a career that you're rejected all the time? Isn't that an interesting?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. Like, you would think somebody like that would be like, I am not going to put myself in a position where anybody's going to judge me, where anybody's going to tell me I'm not good enough. You know what I mean? And yet, actors, that's exactly what they do. Most of them were literally started in acting when they were little kids because they kind of felt like, I'm nobody, but I could be him. I could play King Arthur, or I could play this hero, or I could be this really cool character. And then they go into a craft that by its very nature is 80% you're not good enough.
Well, and even if you aren't, you're rejected and you do get the role, then don't ever read anything about it. Like, because the internet hates us already. Like, I just, you know, but like, yeah, some people act because they want to, but the overwhelming majority of actors that I know and work with act because they need to.
Yeah.
It's therapy. Like, it's how we get to be real.
Yeah.
And the way that you just talked about it, it is like the people who still do it and do it for the long haul are the people who are doing it because they do want to. It's the work. You're doing it for the work because you miss the light, you miss the just getting out there and making that and crafting that. It's the people who do it thinking, I'm gonna be glamorous.
Yeah.
Those are the people who drop off real quick because they're like, wait, this is what glamour is? And yeah, that's it. And it's like, oh.
I coach younger voice actors all the time, and I'm going to be doing some how to book a gig audition panels and stuff like that.
They're fantastic.
They're a lot of fun, very informative. But I have somebody in just about every group that usually a younger potential amateur actor that their first question, they'll ask a couple questions like, you know, how do I get into the industry is the number one, but then the next question is, when do I get to start doing conventions? I'm like, you're not going to make it. Like, that can't be your motivation.
No.
Yeah.
I would be remiss not to tell all of you something very important, and that is a lot of the voice actors that you will meet, none of us have a ton of money. We don't make buttloads of cash voice acting. We don't live in super big mansions and drive Lamborghinis, and you know what I mean? I mean, I know there's a perception of people that have some kind of perceived notoriety, but the reality is I know voice actors right now who are staying on a couch at their friend's house because they can't afford rent for themselves, or they're literally sleeping in the back of their 15-year-old car while they're auditioning for things. The reality is you choose to do something because you love it, it's in your blood, you have a passion for it, and it doesn't even have to be something creative. It could be anything, but you do it because you really love it, not ever because you think you're going to be rich, or you think you're going to be famous, or sign autographs. I don't know about you guys, but I never had any illusions. When I started voice acting, there weren't conventions like this. It never even occurred to me that one day we would get to do what we're doing. So that was never a motivation at all. And that's important in anything you decide to do. Do it because you have a real interest in it, you know, a real passion for it. Not because you think it's going to make you rich or make you famous in any way, because that's overrated. It really is, I promise you.
I went to a family reunion last year before, something like that. And my family, a lot of them older people, do not understand anime, don't understand voiceover, all that kind of stuff. And so my 97-year-old, my granddad's brother, whatever that is, he sees me and he's asking me what I do and everything. And my aunt is trying to explain it to him, and she was like, "Well, he's an anime celebrity." And I was like, come on. And my uncle, Dave, goes, he was 97, doesn't own a TV, does not know what anime is. He goes, sounds like being a winner and a loser at the same time. You're not wrong.
Thanks, Jim, brother. That's perfect. That's perfect.
My mom at one point told a friend of hers, my son makes Japanese cartoons for people who can't read.
The nicest thing my dad has said was, well, you picked a really weird life, but you seem to make it work for you.
I like that. Yeah.
Question.
What is your name, sir?
Travis.
Hey, Travis.
Well, I wanted to ask, what is the best season of One Piece, in your opinion?
Thriller Bard.
Thriller Bark's
That one is pretty good.
I know a lot of people aren't huge fans of Fishman Island. I really enjoyed Fishman Island. The one that I started on, started directing was, I think the first episode I directed was episode 343, and it was the Lovely Land story arc. I really thoroughly enjoyed that one too. But honestly, my favorite part of working on One Piece was when they gave me 2 weeks off to watch 342 episodes. And it's like, even now, like I've been in Funimation almost 11 years, and like they will tell me to go home and watch anime all day, and I get paid, and I'm just like, really? This is great. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. What's your name, sir?
My name is Brad.
What up, Brad?
Hello. Vic, this is actually a question in regards to a close friend of yours, one Obi Frost Tips.
Oh no. Next question, please. Quickly. Oh look, no, time's up. This panel's over.
Should we move on?
No, it's fine. It's
All
fine.
right.
He took part in an anime that was almost entirely improv, so
my God.
how big or how much of a part does improv play in the rest of your voice acting across the board?
Not a lot. I don't think it plays a great deal because, you know, one of our goals is to be true to the original material, right? So, in most cases, the Japanese company that creates the show intends for you to communicate what they created. There are a couple of exceptions. He's talking about a show called Ghost Stories. And the show it did not do well in Japan, and so they sold it they licensed it to ADV in Houston. How long ago was that anyway? Probably, oh goodness, 12, 13 years, maybe 14. And the Japanese company basically said, you know what, do whatever you want with it. We don't really care. Like, if you can make anything out of it, make it funny, make it weird, whatever. And they did. They went all out on it. They improv'd a great deal of it. They make fun of other voice actors, and I was one of those. And then I ended up doing a role in it, and I was so embarrassed by it that I used a fake name because I didn't realize when I went in how like racy they had made the show. I mean, it was really. I didn't know at the time. It wasn't until after the fact. But in general, there's not a ton of improv in what we do. I would say the closest thing that we would probably come to improv is looking at a line and going, okay, I see what they're trying to say here. I think it would be better if we said it this way. And this is going to make much more sense to an English-speaking audience as well. Or this is the way I would say this if I were this character. And the director, you know, and the actors will work together to decide the best way to, to craft the line to match the mouth flaps and also to communicate the intent of the line.
Well, there's only one show that I've worked on that we did a lot of improv, and that was Sergeant Frog, because we actually got permission from the Japanese licensor, because they told us, they were like, when we started kind of talking about, how we were going to approach the show, they were like, well, the humor is so heavily based in Japanese humor, which is a lot of rhyming words that don't rhyme when translated, or Japanese pop culture. And we went back and forth, we had several meetings about it, and we agreed that we could translate every single joke word for word, and then just have a scrolling little text at the bottom that explains why it's funny, but we decided, and with the permission of the licensor, that we wanted to create the feel of Sergeant Frog for an American audience, and so they gave us permission to put in a lot of American pop culture references, and they told us just like, make it funny, make it, as much as you laugh when you watch the subtitled version, make your audience laugh that much. And so we did play around a lot. We maybe a little bit too much from time to time, not gonna lie, but it was really, really fun. The rule when I work on comedies generally, especially that one, was if it makes me laugh, it's in. And so there was a flubbed line that made it to the final product because Todd, I don't know if he misread the script or whatever, but it was the episode where it was the Covidians of Cavity 9, where they make a tiny Caro robot that goes inside Caro's mouth and tries to fight the alien Covidians that are invading his teeth. And there was this, it's supposed to be a bomb that explodes out of his head that Kulalu made for him, but instead of a bomb, it's like a flower pops out and sprinkling things, whatever. And Todd just kind of improv. He was like, stupid Kulalu, and we bleeped it, and it was so ridiculous, and it made everybody laugh, and so we kept it in. It was really fun. I'm really, one of the saddest things, and I don't even know if I ever got to tell you this, we did the first 3 seasons of Sergeant Frog. We did not do the 4th season. We started the 4th season, but sales weren't great. And so they told us while we were working on the first 6 episodes, go and finish up this batch of episodes, but we're not going to release them. Sales have been much lower than we expected, and so we're not going to continue to produce the series. What bothers me about that, among other things, is that in season 4 is when you're introduced to the Garuru platoon. Now there's Caro and Kulalu and Tama and all those, whatever that we know. There's another alien group that's introduced in season 4 called the Garuru platoon. They're from the same planet, and they're counterparts of all of the characters we already knew. My plan was to have the original ADV cast come in to be the Garuru platoon, and they cut it out before we got to it.
Yeah, in case you guys don't know, I originally played Sergeant Frog. ADV had the license for that show, and I played Caro, and I was having the time of my life. Oh my gosh, Joel, I loved that show so much. I would go to conventions and I would buy Sergeant Frog toys, and I would take them back and we would put them all over the studio and line the little window of the recording booth. I loved that show so much. And then when ADV went under, they lost all of their licenses, and one that they lost was Sergeant Frog. So Funimation picked it up and just kind of started all over. So I really, really had a warm place in my heart for Sergeant Frog. So not a lot of improv is the short answer to the question. There was a little improv at the end of Oron High School. I do remember that. During the credits in the final episode, during the credits when they were dancing at the ball or whatever, yeah, we improv'd all of that.
What is your name, sir?
I'm Chris. Chris! So, if you could do it in your character's line, what is your favorite line from Space Dandy?
Oh. It's a toss-up between, well, and they're both from episode 10 when Dandy meets Meows. Yeah, it's ringing the doorbell. God, I've never hated you more! And later in the episode, drunk Meow is my favorite thing in the world. And so when he's drunk at the bar and throwing back whiskey, he's like, I get the jokes. I got the jokes was also improvised.
We've been using I got the jokes for a while.
Yeah, I got the jokes is good. Yeah.
What is your name, sir?
Joshua.
Hey,
Joshua.
My question is for a beginner writer. When you were making your stories, what was your influence?
Stories.
Well, when you were writing your shows, your movies.
You wrote the whole Star Trek thing, right? Where were you? Or you were involved in it, right? Yes, of course.
Are you speaking of anime? Well, in general, Josh, the stories are already written in Japanese. So then what happens, if I may, what happens is there are a group of translators who will take the Japanese and they will do a direct translation. In other words, this is exactly what they said. But it doesn't make a lot of sense in English. You know, it's like, please to the car. What? What does that mean? We don't say that. Let's go to the car. Or hey, get to the car. And so the first group of people directly translate it. And then they give it to writers who will then adapt it to do 2 things. Communicate in conversational English and match the mouth flaps. So that's the process, Josh. The stories themselves are pretty much, the arc of the story are pretty much already established. It's our job to communicate the original story writer's intent. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Do any of you do, like, how much original work do you guys have? Do you have any, or is it all dubbing?
I've done some original writing projects with other people. I haven't done a lot in the voice acting world. I've done a couple of indie games and stuff like that that helped get off the ground. Yeah, mostly it's anime, video games.
I exec produce and direct a web series called Star Trek Continues.
Award-winning.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got over 7 million views, and we've won well over a dozen awards. In fact, I would love to invite you all, officially, into this room tomorrow at 11:30. We're going to be screening our latest episode. This is episode 10. It's part 1 of a 2-part series finale. Now, you guys, you should come and see it. You'll enjoy it. It's classic Star Trek, great storytelling. You'll feel like you're watching one of the classic episodes from the late 60s. Todd is in it, Chuck Huber, another great voice actor friend, is in it. And go home and tell your parents, even if you're not a Star Trek fan. I'll bet your uncle or your school teacher, your neighbors, your mom and dad are. It's online for free to watch at StarTrekContinues.com. All the episodes are right there and free to watch. So I've started the show, and I've written a large number of the stories, and yeah, so that's outside of anime, something I've done.
And that's 11 in this room tomorrow.
11:30.
11:30 in this room tomorrow.
On
Everybody,
that screen.
Let's be there.
Come join me, you guys. You'll enjoy it, I promise.
And what is your name, sir?
Jeff.
What's up, man?
First of all, I want to thank the 3 of you for the kindness that you've shown me and my wife, and thank you for spending time with us and talking with us and making our honeymoon really special.
Honeymoon, Jeff and Jessica, right?
Yeah, Jeff and Jessica.
Yay!
Thank you.
You got that celebrity name, Jessica.
Jessica.
Yeah.
My question for you guys is, how do you prepare yourself for a session? Is there some kind of mental exercises, voice exercises? What do you kind of do to just get yourself into the acting?
Well, my commute to work is about 45 minutes long if I'm lucky, and it can be an hour and a half. But if I have a session first thing in the morning, you've got to do your vocal warm-ups. You have to warm up, but you don't want to over warm up. You don't want to blow your voice up before you get there. So usually when I get about 15-20 minutes from the studio, I almost always gravitate towards a genre of music or an artist or even a particular song that I feel my character would enjoy. And it's usually all over the place, but a lot of characters are really into hardcore rap, apparently. I love using rap as vocal warm-ups too, because it's about diction and speed. And so I will typically try to find a fast-talking rap song, usually UGK, Black Delicious, and rap in my character's voice on the way to the studio, which is always a lot of fun. And at stoplights, I have terrified people. At one point, I was busting out "A Sweet Child of Mine" as Meow, and I totally forgot I had my window down. And there's just like this lady in a PT Cruiser next to me, just looking at me like, I don't know, she wanted me dead. That's wrong. But yeah, so yeah, you gotta warm up, gotta kind of get in that mental headspace.
I have a vocal warm-up I do for that I just kind of made up, and I do that for about half an hour before. But we used to have a whole prep process when we were doing DVD dubs, because you could watch ahead. So if I wanted to, for Junie Tyson, if I wanted to watch all the episodes, I could go ahead and I could know everything about that character, and I could come in with all these ideas about foreshadowing and subtle character arc things and stuff like that, but we can't do that anymore, because we don't know what's going to happen next week, because we're doing simuldubs. So when that happens, you got to evolve or you get left behind. So I learned basically figure out their Jungian archetype and figure out what kind of energy they constantly put out, because when you watch anime, like, angry guy is angry a lot of the time, and like, so you can find and tap into that energy. And then I just pace around the booth being that. Like, if I'm an angry guy, I am cursing, and if I hear somebody in my pre-roll, I say horrible things to them, and I just stay in that energy, and then I get up. That's why pretty much go crazy when I become Brooke. I'm just like, I'm gonna get as weird and wacky as I can, and then you just stay in that for a couple hours. I mean, when I'm doing Junie Tyson, I've got like my arm to the side, and I'm looking very, because I am a matador ox, and I'm holding myself, and look at me and I'll be like, yes, yes. And you kind of have to go for that, because you have to think about it in a different way, and it is a lot more stage on camera acting in that way.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many actors are actually acting out their characters in the booth.
Yeah.
Like all you're getting is what the mic's recording, but they're doing things physically and facially and with their hands to help them kind of feel like they're in the character. As far as vocal warm-ups, a good hot shower, you know, let that warm steam.
Absolutely.
Take deep breaths in, take it in, and a lot of nice water. Water's always a good thing. And just talk a little bit, you know, talk and sing and warm your voice up a little bit, yeah. Thank you, and congratulations, you two. God bless you guys.
Oh, and if you do pick music as a vocal warm-up, don't do Death Clock. Learn that one the hard way.
So on the note of warming up your voice, etc., how long is an average session? Like what is a short, quick, all right, we got this done, boom, we're good, versus what is a ragingly long, I'm gonna trash my voice kind of session?
Well, the shortest we'll schedule is half an hour, and that's for no more than 15 lines or 20 reactions or something like that. We have recorded people all day for 7 hour day with a lunch break in the middle, or 8 hour day with a lunch break. We tend to not want to do that unless it's a really easy character. Like I could do that when I was playing Takumi in Initial D because he's just chill as hell and never yells. Sonny Strait that plays Usopp in One Piece, we never ask him to record for more than 2 hours because Usopp only has 2 settings: insane and dead. Like those are the only 2 things he can do. So yeah, we always wanted to be very respectful and very knowledgeable, and to be aware of the limitations of our human actors. I'd say a 3 or 4 hour session is a little on the long side, but we've gone longer at times.
What is your name?
My name is Joel, and this is a question for Vic. But before I get to my question, Vic, I have someone on my phone who is a big fan of yours, and she loves your voice playing Broly. And she really wants to say hi to you.
Well, hello. How are you? What's your name? What's your name?
Her name's AJ.
Hello, AJ. Everybody say hi to AJ.
AJ!
Broly loves you, AJ.
The nicest Broly has ever sounded.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. See, that's another one. You do not want to do like a Broly for like 5 hours at a time.
Yeah. You know, if you ever get the chance to audition for something, don't do a voice in an audition that you're not prepared to do for 5 hours. Because you'll do it and you'll come up with this kick-ass cool voice, and then you'll get cast and you'll be like, oh crap, I have to do this for 5 hours, and it'll thrash your throat. You know, somebody could do something like that. And you'd be like, that's amazing, cast that. And then you go, oh no. You'll be dead after 15 minutes, you know what I mean? Certain things you don't want to do. And I have amazing respect for the Dragon Ball Z guys. Because they just freaking yell and scream and power up for 300 episodes, you know? And Chris Sabat told me once, like, hey Vic. I'm like, yeah, Chris. He goes, I used to sound like you.
No, he didn't.
He did. He told me. He told me that he used to have a much higher voice, and then I mean, I believe
that boy came out of the womb like,
you know what?
Hey, mama.
He has the greatest voice ever.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he was half teasing. But the point being that kind of thing really can trash your voice. Your voice is a muscle, and you guys know if you ever lift weights, if you lift too much, you pull a muscle, you tear a muscle, and you're out of commission for a while. And your voice is no different. If you push it too hard, then you're out of commission for a while.
All the agents in town know about the Dragon Ball Z like strenuous. So I get a phone call from my agent, and she'll be like, "Hey, we need you for 4 hours on Weiss on Monday. And I'm like, great, that sounds great. And she was like, so we're going to have to cancel your commercial or move it later in the day because I know you're going to be really stressed and you're not going to want to talk. I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Weiss doesn't yell at all. And they hate me for it. It's me and Chuck Huber are the only people in Dragon Ball who never raise our voices, ever. I love it.
Right now, my question is to Vic, what was your favorite line in Dragon Ball Z?
Get it.
My favorite line in Dragon Ball Z? Kakarot.
Kakarot. It's got to be that.
I just summed up my character's entire vocabulary in one word. No, you know what? I tend to like other people's characters more than, I mean, just because he doesn't say much, you know? In the first movie, he talked a little. And then in the second movie, not so much. And then in the third, not at all. He was just like a pile of jello. That he didn't even say Kakarot anymore. But somebody told me that one of the DBZ games, you can hold a sequence of buttons together and it'll say every Kakarot, one right after the other. For like 10 minutes. Every time we do a video game and they're like, we need you for an hour. I want to be paid, right? I mean, I like to make money. But something in my brain goes, how many different ways can you say Kakarot? I've said that word 8 million times now, and it's all in a database somewhere. You know? I'm like, oh, I'll be there. Because I don't want to just have them pull them from some previous game. But yeah, unfortunately, Broly is a man of few words.
Now, are you able to submit a clip remotely where you could just take one off file and just send it and say, hey, I just did this 5 minutes ago, here you go.
There you go.
What is your name?
My name is Jack, and I had a question for Vic. I was going to ask, you probably asked this question multiple times, but based on story and character development, which do you think is better, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood or Full Metal Alchemist 2003?
Well, most people, the majority of people think that Brotherhood is their favorite. Like, the majority of people like Brotherhood better. Which is a really nice thing to say about a sequel, because sequels often are not as good as the original. So it's really cool that is the case. For me, I have a very special place in my heart for the original. You know, I'm sure the first time you meet a character, and the first time you experience this world, and I fell in love with it so deeply that it's always going, the first one's always going to have a special place in my heart, you know? But, you know, Brotherhood was amazing. It followed the manga. The story was kind of more dark and hard-hitting, and it had one thing that the original didn't, an ending. That was nice, it actually ended, so.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Tommy.
Hi, Tommy.
So I kind of have a question more pertaining to, you know, like on stage theater. Do most of you have a on stage theater background, right?
Oh yeah.
What was your most, either your favorite or just the most memorable on stage play you've ever been in?
Wow. Thank you for the question.
Yeah? Oh no, we're all theatrically trained. Yeah. My favorite I did, and it's because it was partially a neat trick, I did a trio of plays, a trilogy called the Nibrock Trilogy. Thank you. And it was like about me and my wife, and then like I was on stage. So 3 plays about a guy and a girl falling in love, and the second one, like her mom moves in and everything goes bad, and the third one, they're older. And we would premiere 1 a week, and then for the last month of it, we would do all 3 on Saturday and Sunday. So I was doing like 6 to 9 hours of theater, like just straight, and I was off stage for maybe 5 minutes of it. I got an award out of it, and then I'm like, I'm done with theater for a minute. And it was one of those things where you do a play so much and so often that somehow that character leaks into you a little bit. I'm less of a jerk because of that, because I lived as this guy for a year, and I was like, I like being like this, and I calmed down as a human being because of it, and I love the Nibrock Trilogy, and it's a part of who I am, and yay.
Most of my favorite moments in my life happened on stage. On stage is, I don't know, it's where I'm at, that's home. I love it, I miss it. I wish I could afford to do it. I can't, because the last play I did was 8-week commitment and I got $450. And it was like, they were like, that's gas money. I'm like, not in this economy. No, like, I think my favorite thing that's ever happened on stage, of many amazing things, I did a play called Lobster Alice, where I got to play Salvador Dali.
And he was amazing.
And actually, it was me and Todd Habercorn in callbacks for it, but I beat him. Yeah, stage is where I take roles from Todd. But there was this brilliant moment, so I got to play Salvador Dali, and I grew out a long beard, and then right before opening, I shaved the beard off, and I curled the mustache up, came almost all the way up to my eyes. And I completely physically transformed to the best of my ability into young Salvador Dali, and the play was about the time that Dali actually worked at Disney. During the time that an artistic developer was working on the pre-concepts for what would become Alice in Wonderland. And it is strongly implied through a lot of accounts from Disney and other people at the time that Dali's influence in the building had a lot to do with how that movie came out. And it was great. They hired him to animate an Italian operatic piece called Il Destino, and they wanted to bring his art to life and to animate it and everything. And so he worked with them for 6 weeks, insisted on being paid up front, blew all the money, and at the end of 6 weeks had 2 out of 45 seconds animated, and then he destroyed them and left. And it was a brilliant play. But one of the cool things is the set would transform into Dali-esque kind of artistic things, and so we had a clock on the wall that was actually a pie tin of frozen custard. We froze the custard up until right before we let the house open. And right before the house, we hung the custard clock. Looked just like just a white clock. And then slowly throughout the course of the play, it would start to melt and drip. Now, my favorite moment was, and as the longer the play got, the more Dali-esque elements crept in. It was really cool. Jason Douglas played the same role years ago at Stages in Houston. Yeah, it was really good. But there was a part where Dali is sitting on a table, like a design table that looks like one of those little spindly-legged elephants, and I'm sitting there with a cup of tea, drinking. It was the Mad Hatter scene from Alice in Wonderland, and I'm supposed to be drinking and monologuing about something, and I see out of the corner of my eye that there's a big gob of custard about to fall off this clock. And I had seconds to react, but I just, in the middle of my monologue, I went, and then I ran to, and I put my cup over, and it dropped directly into the cup, and I went, yeah! And the audience went,
timing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's amazing.
Your dialect in that was phenomenal. He sat around and workshopped it for a long time. And you have the most entertaining dialect.
Yeah, Dali actually called it, because he was, he traveled through Italy and a bunch of other, and Spain, a lot of other places, but he called his speech pattern Dalinian speech, and he thought that in the future everyone would talk like him.
What's it sound like?
I can't do it anymore. I've done Poland since then. I had to change.
I love theater so much. I miss it so much. When he said that, I was like, yes. I can't even go to theater because I'll sit there because it's so frustrating. What do they call white knuckle? You know what I mean? And you're like, you want to be a part of something, and you're just holding the arms of the chair. It's like, that's how I feel whenever I was at New York Comic-Con about a month ago, and I went to see Tara Strong said you have to go see Dear Evan Hansen. She said it's so beautiful you have to go see it. So I went alone to Broadway and saw this musical, and I was like, I've done so many musicals and so many stage plays, and I miss it terribly. It takes too much time and doesn't pay much unless you're at the top run. But as far as favorite ones, my favorite musical, I think, was Camelot. And I'll tell you why, because the director wanted me to play Lancelot. And I said, I don't want to play Lancelot because that's too easy. You know what I mean? It wouldn't require much. I want to play Arthur. And the director's like, I don't really see you as an Arthur, Vic. I said, can I try? And he said, sure, you can audition if you like. And I auditioned, and he cast me as Arthur. And I loved that show so much. Loved that show. The other one was The Crucible. which I know is classic. I mean, everybody knows Crucible. But I played John Proctor in the Crucible, and I loved that show.
Because it is my name!
Right. Because I will not have another in my life. And what was especially fun about the Crucible was, years later, you know, whenever you're in a play with other people, and you're playing your character, but you're watching the other actors, and you're thinking, I wonder what it would be like to play that role. Or how would I play that role? So 4 years after I played Proctor in the Crucible, I was in another city in the country living, and a community theater was doing the Crucible, and I auditioned, and I got cast as Reverend Hale. So suddenly, after playing Proctor, I was doing the Crucible again, playing this character that I knew so well from the first time, and so yeah, the Crucible was really a very special play for me as well.
That's got to be really cool because you get to see what that part is supposed to mean in a larger sense, because when you do a role in theater and on stage and everything like that, it is hard to pull yourself back and like look at what, as we were talking about, you know, the stitch in the tapestry, you're one part of a larger thing. And so to be like, no, I know what that guy's supposed to evoke, hold on a minute, and then you go in.
Yeah. And in answer to your question, with the exception, I think, of 2 actors, I can think of 2 voice actors who don't have a ton of experience and background in theater. 2. Out of probably the 100 that we know, most of them have spent many, many years developing skills on stage, in front of a camera. Several of us have degrees in theater, lots of experience in acting in general. And voice acting is literally acting in front of the microphone. I mean, you're still creating a character, you're still trying to communicate, you just have far less tools, right? You don't have your hands. We could stand here and never say a word. And by our facial expressions, our body language, our costumes, our gestures, we could communicate a great deal about who we were without saying a word. But in voice acting, you have none of those tools. So it's acting at the core, but it's just using a different set of skills.
I find that because so many people have their roots in theater, when you get to direct them, you're like, this is easy, I know the language to communicate that kind of thing. Whereas it's actually, especially musical theater people, because they're easiest people in the world to act, or to direct, because you just say, I need a little bit more staccato there, and I need you to lengthen out those things, and they're like, I got you. So.
All right, what is your name?
Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
My question was, with the simuldubs coming out, everything's coming out a lot quicker and it's a lot more hectic. Is it harder to direct with the simuldubs or as an actor?
Well, I got to do one of the very first simuldubs. It was kind of an experiment. We did Psychopath Season 2 and Laughing Under the Clouds. They were kind of our tests to see if we could even do it. And it is very challenging, not knowing what comes up. Fortunately, Funimation has a stable of roughly 400 trained voice actors that we get to choose from. And so we have versatile people that can pull anything off. But I intentionally, in Laughing Under the Clouds, cast people that I knew were solid actors but didn't have a whole lot of lead roles to their name. And so that then, you know, like if I had a character that popped up that needed something very specific, I hadn't used all of my aces, you know, like so I still had some people that can just like, you know, all over the place, you know, any voice I need. It was tricky though because there was one line that really messed with us in Laughing Under the Clouds because the line, there was a flashback that in one episode was just a one-line flashback, and then 5 episodes later was a full scene including that line. But during that, it was the first one was the line was, "This is our family sword. With it, we have protected this area of Japan for generations." Several episodes later, we see a more fleshed out version of that scene, but we also see the room they're in, and it was, "These are our many family swords." Japanese does not distinguish between singular and plural. And so as much as we were trying to stay close to the intent, there was no way we could have known. And so there were lots of little kind of things like that you kind of have to keep an eye out for. And you know, at one point, Tatum played a character who was wearing a mask the entire time. I'm like, I know this mask is going to come off. Like, what's he going to look like? What is the voice? The voice needs to match the face. I don't know what the face is. You know, so it's tricky. You know, it's stressful. but luckily we have the team that can pull it off. So yeah, it's changing the industry in a lot of really cool ways. It's getting the product to you guys infinitely faster, and so I hope you appreciate it because we're all very tired.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Yeah. It's a real challenge. You don't have the time to craft, and let me think about this a bit. Go, 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 go. But we want you guys to have it and to be able to enjoy it as close to the Japanese release as possible. But like with Junie Tyson, I cast certain actors because I thought they were going to be main characters, and I cast really strong actors, and then they got killed in the first episode. And I couldn't have known until you see it. Like I only see the next episode a handful of days before I have to start directing it. So you don't know what's coming, and you're not really sure what any character's ultimate end will be. So that makes it a bit of a challenge. It's not like the show's already out completely, so you can watch the whole thing or whatever. It is a challenge, and even then you've got to cast it and record it all in 4 or 5 days, and then mix it and get it out. It is a challenge, but Funimation has done an amazing job with it, and having quality people that like they do, I think, is very vital to making it a success.
It's fun as an actor. I have had a director go, huh, well apparently you're the bad guy.
Cool.
What is your name?
Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
I got a question for Vic.
Yes,
What's your thoughts on the new Full Metal Alchemist live action?
Have you seen the previews for the live action, you guys?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it looks so cool.
Are you gonna actually meet the kid who's playing?
I don't know. I hope it's good.
I did.
We've all seen, Mike, am I not right? We've all seen animes that have been adapted to live action that were pretty crappy. Well, yeah, a lot of them, they just don't quite hold up to the hopes and expectations that the anime had. But I mean, I'm very hopeful. The previews look really cool. It's going to be out in December, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful it's going to be good. I hope so.
It's like me hearing about new X-Men movies. I'm like, I hope it works out. I've seen the other ones.
What is your name?
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne, what's up?
Has there ever been a character that you wanted to play that if you were given the chance you'd jump at it?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I love L in Death Note. It's awesome. I love that kid. It was really cool. I want to play all the parts. That's what we do.
It's funny you mentioned Death Note. I was at a convention with the producer, the person that was going to be producing the dub, and I mentioned that I loved the story. It was such a cool idea, and that I would love to be a part of it. And he's like, "Oh yeah, man, I'll go back home and let him know, and yeah, we'll find a spot for you." And then he called me and he said, "Yeah, it's being dubbed in Canada," which means you will not hear any American voice actors in it, because that's part of the deal you make with Canada. Canada says, "Hey, we'll let you bring your show up here and we'll charge you less money, in studio time, and you can do it for less, but the caveat is you have to use all our people. You have to use our studios and our engineers and our actors." So shows like Inuyasha and Death Note are shows that were dubbed in Canada. But yeah, there are always those kind of characters. I'd love to play Speed Racer. Only because I loved that show when I was a little boy, and I didn't even know it was anime. I just knew I really liked it. So it would be fun to be a part of something like that, just for nostalgia's sake,
I want to be a Marvel superhero. Just one. I don't care what.
A couple of years ago, we were here at Youmacon and we did a panel with Steve Bloom, and it was Space Dandy versus Cowboy Bebop or something like that. No, come on. So we all afterwards, and everybody looks up to Steve Bloom. He's Steve Bloom. He's just
Nicest guy ever.
Yeah, wildly nice and generous and sweet. And so we all ended up sharing a shuttle back to the airport together. Different flights, but we're all heading back there. And Ian is trying so hard not to geek out and be like, Wolverine, Wolverine. He's like, Wolverine.
Right before we got in the car, I looked at him and I go, screw it, bro. I'm just gonna say it. Your Wolverine's amazing.
Yeah. But then we spent the entire ride with them just talking about Wolverine and a bunch of other stuff and comic books and everything. And right as we were parting ways when we got to the airport, Steve Bloom turns to Ian and goes, I like your style, man. I like that you're really into the work. You know what? When I die, you're Wolverine. And Ian was like, oh, thanks, man, or whatever. And Steve turns the corner and he's
I believe my words were, I'm not going to pretend like I won't remember you saying that.
If your brakes should go out, God forbid, God forbid something happened to your brakes when you're driving.
That's the kindest thing. He's not in control of that. That's just a nice thing to say to somebody going, you're really good. Like, I listened to how you did it, because if you go into like the Marvel vs. Capcom Ultimate Edition and you turn down the volume, you can listen to all the audio samples of everybody, and then you can basically hear them like they're actors in a session. And I noticed that during your Wolverine, you did MW before all of your reacts, and I like that because it makes it more animalistic. It's true.
What is your name?
Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
All right, this is for Joel and Ian. You guys played some of my favorite characters in one of my favorite shows, Men of the Dawn. Which I believe you did a simuldub for the second half, but not the first half.
Could be. I thought it was all simuldub. I don't know. That was a lot of years ago.
Okay, so what's that situation like where you kind of have to, where you end up doing a show at an out of order? Does that affect character development, or does it not really matter?
I don't think we did it out of sequence. No, I think the entire thing was as a broadcast. There have been times before where we have. I just finished a broadcast. There is no order. I finished a broadcast earlier this year, I believe, called Joker Game, and Joker Game is great, and both these guys were in that, and it's an awesome spy show, spy drama, World War II. It's fascinating. And a lot of it's based on actual information from that time and from all these different spies and all that. But I didn't find out until we started working on it that when it originally aired, and I think it's a couple years old, the episodes were aired out of sequence because the show in and of itself is a spy mystery. And so the audience has to figure out what order do these events go in. And so it was wildly confusing, but each is episodic enough to where they all kind of stand alone, and it's a great experience anyway. But then you get to go through and try to figure out what order these things happen in, and then when you watch them again in the chronological order, it's a totally different show. It tells a very different story. So it doesn't happen often. We try to avoid that.
Weirdly enough, One Piece. We do that every once in a while when we're like doubling up and being like, we're putting out a lot, so they'll have you and Mike doing it. And the cool thing is, as an actor, those two are really good about, like, I'll be like, what's happening? And they'll be like, oh, you're on this island doing this thing. Has this thing happened yet? No, that's over in Joel's thing. Okay.
Right.
And
I'll have 12 episodes and Mike will have the next 12 episodes, but sometimes Ian will go over and do Mike's episodes first. He's like, so how did we get from here to there?
So I'm wearing this thing on my head.
Yeah.
Next question.
All right, what is your name again?
My name is Tess. I think Vic has seen me.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Yes, good to see you,
I
Tess.
hope you put my picture in a good spot.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. What my question is do you guys have any special roles that you miss from past projects you've done before?
All of them. It's hard to say goodbye to a character. It really is. I miss Jacuzzi Spot from Bacano. I miss Meow from Space. I want a movie for Space Dandy so bad. I don't know. I like working.
Weirdly enough, all the ones that I can think of that I really miss had directors that let me play. Like Favreau from Rage of Bahamut, I got to play. Dandy, I get to play. Mike, I missed the crap out of Zap from Blood Blockade until it came back.
I think an actor's gonna find something about every character that he likes. Something that he connects with or something that he's interested in. And if you do that, then you're going to love all of them for some reason or another. I sure did. I feel the same way these guys do. I mean, I miss Ed. I would love there to be more Full Metal. I don't know if there ever will be. Oh my gosh, if I had the money, I would personally pay for another season of Ouran High School. But in general, just all the shows that you get to be a part of, you find, you know, something about every character that you love.
What is your name, sir? Corey. Out of all characters you voiced, which do you closely relate to personally? I know I would be Reiner Luke, because I'm a lazy bum.
Yeah, Reiner. Yeah, Reiner. Probably Reiner and Dandy. Somewhere in the between.
I think it's Takumi from Initial D and Meow.
Family.
I don't think those two would hang out, but they're both like different parts of me. Like that I don't know, they're fun.
Different volumes.
Sure. Yeah.
I would like to say Tamaki, but I think that's vain hoping. But there was a character that I played many years ago on a show called Princess Nine. I even mentioned it today in my panel. I loved the character so much, and he felt so much like me. He was the story was about a girls' baseball team, high school girls' baseball team, and I was the captain of the boys' baseball team. And I loved the show, and I loved the character so much that I literally had a sporting goods store in Houston make me a jersey with the kanji that looked just like the character's jersey on the show, and I would wear it to the studio when I recorded the character, because I loved the character so much, and I felt like he was a lot like me. So I'd say him, even though it's a lesser or well-known kind of a thing. Hiroki Takasugi from Princess Nine.
Next question coming up. What is your name?
Mela.
I wanted to ask Vic if you had a favorite thing about voicing Tamaki, like what your favorite part of doing his voice was.
Oh, Mela. I love everything I say. You're a beautiful commoner. No, I just love Tamaki. Anything he says, anything he says. So many of the lines in the first episode were so funny. And you guys come, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this too. You guys come and you tell us lines from shows that you really liked, and we're like, I said that?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really funny. Did I do that? Because, if you do it right the first time, you don't say it again.
Nope, one take, move on.
If you say it right the first time, they record it, you're done, you're going, you're moving on. And that's 100 shows ago, you know what I mean? Often we don't remember a lot of the things that we said as a character. But when we come to convention and you guys tell us, oh, I love this scene or that role or that line, then we start to go, oh, okay. And we remember the lines, we kind of keep them in here and remember what you guys enjoyed.
What is your name, sir?
Hello, my name is Kenneth Warrior, and I want to ask you, if you could revitalize one series, what would it be? Mine would be Sergeant Frog, because I really liked it.
I agree. There need to be several more seasons of that and a couple movies. I would bring that one back quick.
Dandy.
I still think there's hope for a movie.
I think he mentioned it like on some panel, and I know this as much as anybody who goes on the internet and goes, Dandy. Like, see, he said in some panel like 3 years ago, like, yeah, maybe a movie someday.
Well, I know the president of Bones said he loved Dandy and he wanted a movie. And also, there was a Bebop movie that came out, 5 years after the original series? So it's still possible, but I don't know. After the multiverse episode, it's like, the sandbox is almost too big to play in, Yeah.
This is a really long question. I'm still vetting it. Sorry, guys.
I gotcha.
What is your name?
Brandon. My name is Brandon Lumley.
Hey, Brandon. Hey, Brandon.
Hello. I was wondering, because I recently just heard about a story that back like 10 years ago when Gurren Lagann was released, and ADV originally got the license to it, and you were supposed to play Vero.
I was already playing, Vero,
And they had to cancel it for like budget reasons?
Same reason. Remember this story, Sergeant Frog?
Sales, yeah.
We were doing Gurren-Lagann. No, we were doing Gurren-Lagann at ADV, and I was playing Bureau, and then ADV went out of business. We were also doing Sergeant Frog at ADV, and they went out of business. So, unfortunately, Gurren-Lagann was one of those shows that, you know, the ADV lost the license, and Bang Zoom in Los Angeles picked it up and, you know, started over. What was the feeling? Well, exactly what you would imagine, my friend. I mean, it's sad, and we love what we do. We love any opportunity to do it. And especially if you invest anything emotionally into a character, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of a heartbreak, you know, to see it go away.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Gordon. Now, I understand that you all have at least once or more times have worked down in Funimation in Dallas, correct?
All of it.
Now, if there was a particular time where you had like the most fun or like had an interesting time like recording with the other voice actors, when and what would that be? With who?
I'm gonna get a button that just goes, Dandy.
Yeah. Yeah, Dandy was awesome. You know, Ian and I had almost every week, or every time a new episode aired, we would either get together at his place or my place, or Raleigh was one of the engineers at Okratron, and so we'd always have watch parties. And it's, you know, like we were saying about all the different characters that we work on and all the different shows that we work on, you always find something to love about it, even if it's not necessarily the kind of show or the kind of character you would rush out and try to find, you know, on your own. We suddenly had the opportunity to work on a Watanabe, a new original that we were a huge fan of, and it was a show that we felt like we were the target demographic. Yeah. Like, we are that Cartoon Network crowd that this is geared towards, and so like we got to work on something that was, and the original or the American dub actually aired a couple hours before the Japanese, and so we were they definitely are the original. Like, we got to, like, it was really cool. And so you know, like, but directing it and working on it with such an amazing cast, and we had cameos from big industry, you know, celebrities all over the place in just about every episode, and it was a crazy fast turnaround. It was really stressful. Sometimes we were getting episodes that were just the schematic animation. They were just sketches that wouldn't really move. It was just like, it's gonna go from this picture to like 5 seconds later this picture, and so you don't really get to see it, but then you have to start working on it. But like, it was fun. It was experimental. It was a huge sandbox to play in. We all got really excited about it and watched the first episode, and at the end, everyone dies. And we're like, are we doing? Is there more? But that one was our favorite. Yeah.
Never have I ever worked on a project where every single person from the bottom up, anybody who was even vaguely involved, was trying, was going 150%, just going as crazy and into it as possible.
You know, the reality of voice acting for anime is that you don't get the chance as often to actually voice with other people. Yeah. You record alone. Because it's not realistic to think that you could get 5 actors together and they'd all hit the mouth flaps into perfect performance all at the same time. It's just unrealistic. So the best way to do it is to break it down and bring each actor in and craft each character's performance, right? But the downside of that is you don't get to act with anybody. You don't get to create a moment like you do on stage with other actors. Our biggest chance to even meet other voice actors in shows that we do is at conventions. I've been a part of so many shows that I didn't even know a lot of the people in the show until we did a convention, and somebody would come up and go, I play so-and-so, and oh my gosh, and you feel like you know them because you hear their voice in your ear, right? You know their voice and you feel like you know who they are, but you've actually never met them. So the reality of anime dubbing is that you often don't get to, when people come up and say, what was it like to work with Travis Willingham, or what's it like to work with, and name an actor, and often you're not really working at the same time with them. That's just part of the magic of making it seem like you're having a conversation when you're really weeks apart sometimes in your recording.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for today. Let's give it up again for Vic Mignogna, Joel McDonald, Ian Sinclair, and Phantom Havercorn way over on the end.
Thank you guys